crack, guys? Kazzy here, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you the books that I liked the least in 2017. In 2017 I had quite a good reading year. I read 71 books. A couple of them were comic books, but they count in Goodreads. Along the way I encountered some books that I didn't like, some that I hated, and some that I loved. And so in this video I'm going to be sharing with you the ones that disappointed me the most. And when I'm talking about disappointing me, I'm talking about that they didn't meet my expectations, I went into them with high expectations, or they just didn't deliver what I thought they were going to deliver from what I heard about them. So that's going to be in the first part of the video, and then in the second part of the video it's going to be the ones that I just did not like at all. Either I really didn't like them or I absolutely detested them and they were 1-star ratings. Also, just having the typical disclaimer, these are not intended to insult you or to have any reflect on what you like. A lot of the books that I didn't like this year, a lot of people have loved, and that's perfectly fine. Like, I love that you love them, it's just my opinion and I just didn't like them as much. It's not an affront to the author or to you for liking them, that's fine. It's just I didn't get what you got from it. And so with all that being said, let's just get started. As I said to start off with, I'm going into the ones that disappointed me, and I have 5 of those books. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. I heard about this series from Haley and Bookland. I went into this with very high expectations. They said it was like X-Men, and I was really looking forward to that X-Men aspect because X-Men is probably one of my favorite parts of the Marvel universe, and I've loved it since I was very young. And so I went into this, as I said, with high expectations, and they delivered right off the bat because this camp that these kids are put into read very much like Genosha from X-Men to me. If you don't know what The Darkest Minds is about, it's about this disease that's wiped out pretty much 98% of the teenage population of America, and only about 2% remain. And those 2% develop these abilities, and so the government, frightened by these abilities, rounds them all up into these forced labor camps. So that's where it starts off with, and as I said, it read very much like Genosha from X-Men. And then the character Ruby escapes and it goes from there. Post-escape, it was very disappointing. When the girl meets up with a camp of other people like her, it was very disappointing. The villain aspect of this was just boring. The last half of it just seemed very stagnant, and I was like waiting for something decent to happen, and the ending was just predictable as well. So I didn't feel like I got as much out of it as everybody else did. It just didn't captivate me. I enjoyed like 60% of it, but at the same time it was such a disappointment to me that I just couldn't get over it. And I think people say that it gets better in the rest of the series, but I just don't know about that, and I'm just not entirely convinced to read it. Another book that fell flat of the hype was The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. This is a generational story following a great-grandmother, I think it's a great-grandmother, and then going to Ava Lavender, who was born with wings. When I went into this, I was intrigued from the very start. It's a very intriguing read. The vast majority of it I did love. I loved the whole aspect with wings, reminded me of Maleficent from the live-action version. Why is my voice disappearing? This is what happens when you film after just waking up and you haven't talked. With this book, everybody says all about the writing style and the imagery that you get with it. Yes, I did get it, but it didn't wow me. None of the characters particularly wowed me. I think I loved Amelia the most. At the same time, I just wasn't captivated by it. It just fell a little bit flat for me, and that's just my opinion. Like, I did enjoy it for the most part, but at the same time, it just was disappointing after people had just built it up so much, and we talk about the writing style and the imagery and the whole magical aspect of it, and I just didn't get that from reading it, and so that's why it's a disappointment. I did enjoy it, but it was a disappointment. I was also disappointed by 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. If you didn't know, I pretty much picked up this book because it's mentioned in Star Trek Voyager in an episode called 30 Days, and it's one of Tom Paris' favorite books from when he was a child. Going into this, I thought I knew the story of 20,000 Leagues. No, I thought League was a depth. When I thought about it, I know that a league is a measure of distance when you're talking about nautical terms. It didn't stop me from thinking it was a depth, and so whenever I was reading this, I was like wondering, okay, what is going on here? Why are they like just going around the world? When are they going to get to Atlantis? I thought Atlantis was going to play a major part in this. This only looks like pretty much only a paragraph, and I was bitterly disappointed in that. I kind of went into it thinking it was going to be like, you know, in Star Wars The Phantom Menace, the Gungans, where they hang out underneath the water. I thought it was going to be like that for some reason, or it was going to be like pretty much like the episode of Star Trek Voyager 30 Days. I didn't like any of the characters. Captain Nemo, I did enjoy. I'll have to admit, I did enjoy his character, but at the same time I just felt let down by it. I wasn't particularly wowed by it. For the width of it, it took me a ridiculous amount of time to actually read, and I've noticed that with reading classics and modern classics, they take me a long time to read, because I think that because it's a classic, I am doing like assigned reading. It takes me a while to get into it and to get through it, because I feel like I'm going to have to talk about it, like obviously I'm talking about it now, but like talk about it in a seminar setting. It just didn't gel with me, and because like Vern was writing in French, this is translated, and so I just don't think the translation worked so that it sounded like English. That's the thing that my Spanish teacher was always telling me about whenever we were translating a passage from Spanish into English. Like, their sentence construct is so different to ours that, you know, we really have to muddle it up so much to make it look like recognizable English. At times, this did not look like recognizable English. I was stumbling over sentences, I was stumbling over paragraphs that I would have to read several times. I hate doing that. It just made it less enjoyable, and so it disappointed me. The same thing happened with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. I thought I knew the story of this. Turns out I did not. I did not know the story of this. This book is ridiculously short, and again, I think it took me 2 days to read something this thin, and I was reading it all day long. I think what disappointed me most about it was the story. I didn't feel like I got any kind of story. I don't think I got any kind of plot or character interaction. It just felt fragmented and incomplete, and I just didn't think that I really got the story of this. I don't know whether or not it's because I'm stupid, I don't know, but at the same time, this is just my opinion, and it just disappointed me. But the cover is absolutely phenomenal, isn't it? At least it gets to look pretty on my shelf. And the last of the books that disappointed me was Brooklyn by Colm Tóibín. I bought this because Kate Mulgrew mentioned that Colm Tóibín is one of the authors that she tends to reach for, and so I picked up Brooklyn, and the cover is beautiful. With Brooklyn, it follows a character called Eilish, who is in a small town in Ireland in the 1950s, and there are no prospects. There's no husband prospect, there's no job prospects, there's no kind of prospects for her to really prosper in Ireland, and so her sister Rose arranges for her to go to New York and to go to Brooklyn, where she gets a job, falls in love, and then when she's settled, something happens at home and she has to be forced between choosing whether to stay in New York or to come back home to Ireland. This book disappointed me because I expected so much more from it. I didn't like any of the characters. None of the characters really grabbed me. None of them really inspired me. Like Eilish, at the same time, I wanted to hit her because she was falling in love with a guy that, yes, was romantic, but when it came down to the nitty-gritty, he was quite selfish, and so I didn't particularly like the characters. Colm Tóibín's writing was very good. I enjoyed it. It was easy to get into, and there were quite a bit of vernacular that I very much appreciated, being Irish and living in Ireland, that I'm unaccustomed to encountering from reading YA, particularly American YA. Whenever I was reading this, it was just like, it was alright. I expected a lot more, especially from somebody that's held in such high esteem by Kate Mulgrew. So those are the books that disappointed me, so now to the ones that I just did not like. I'm going to start off with the ones that I don't have, because either I've given them away or I borrowed it from a friend. So the one that I borrowed from my best friend was actually Marvel's Black Widow Forever Read by Margaret Stohl. I absolutely despised this book. I was wondering, what the hell? I know people have loved it, but at the same time, I did not, because I thought it was such a character assassination of Natasha Romanoff. I didn't think she was her character at all in this book, and so I didn't like that characterization of Natasha at all. And then for her to have a brother, I was like, no. And then the insta-love in the book was ridiculous. Like, this guy had just met this girl 2 seconds ago, and he's like, okay, let's go to Austria. I'm like, what kid does that? Ever. You don't just meet a girl and say, okay, I'll go with you to Austria on this life and death mission. No. I think the only thing that I actually enjoyed about that book was the debriefing sections in between each chapter. I think those were the only entertaining parts, because they had Agent Coulson, and you know Agent Coulson is going to have that witty and sarcastic streak that you expect from him. And so, of course, when Natasha plays off of that, it really works. And so that was the only part of the book that I liked. I hated it. I hated the ending. I'm not even going to attempt to read the second book that is in this duology. I got the second book from my best friend for Christmas, but I am not going to read it. Another book that I absolutely hated in 2017 was The Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. I was very excited to read this book because a tagline at the top of it is like, "Ladies rejoice, we now have a female Captain Jack Sparrow on our hands." If that's what you think Captain Jack Sparrow is, you need to watch the original movies again. Curse of the Black Pearl, not Salazar's Revenge, because that was shite. Sorry for the language, but it was shite. And so by extension, this book was too. My opinion, remember, I did not like the characters. I did not like Alosa. Alosa at times was so fickle to me. At times I thought, oh yeah, great, now she's going to really impress me. She's going to be very, like, much the pirate princess that I expected. And then she would just do something ridiculously stupid, and I just did not like her, and I did not like the twist regarding Alosa. I just, no, it felt predictable. Even Raiden, who was supposed to be the villain, first officer of this ship, I did not like him at all. Like, he has no sense of how to interrogate. He was like the worst pirate I have ever encountered. The characters did nothing for me. Draxton, I think, was the only character that even remotely entertained me. It felt like a struggle to pick it up, to actually read it. I wasn't enjoying it, and it made me realize that if I'm not enjoying a book, I really should just set it down and move on, because I'm not about to waste my time on a book that I don't enjoy. But the thing is, I was like, I paid for this book, I'm going to finish it, and I did that. I just did not gel with it at all. And The Daughter of the Siren Queen, I think, is the next one, and I'm not reading that. In 2017, I also read Poison, which is the first book in the Tales from the Kingdoms by Sarah Pinborough. Poison is a reimagining of Snow White and the evil queen, and I'm trying to understand, why did she try to poison her stepdaughter? This is a collection of 3 stories: Poison, Charm, and Beauty. Poison followed Snow White, Charm, I think, is Cinderella, and Beauty is Sleeping Beauty. I read the first one. As I was getting into this book and enjoying parts of it, it read like porn. Yeah, it made Snow White out to be a complete and utter slut. It made the evil queen to be a complete and utter slut. Let's just say there's some sexual acts in this that are going to scar me for life. I just hated it, and I don't know why I still have it, because I absolutely hated it. I'm not going to read the other 2 for desires of self-preservation. I don't want Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty to be absolutely destroyed for me. No. I also didn't like The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. I was very excited to read this book when it came out because it sounded fantastic. It's a Russian retelling. It's about this girl who was given this gem that her father was given when she was a baby after her mother just passed away, giving birth to her. Then there's this darkness threatening the village. When I was reading this, I was captivated from the first chapter. I liked the first chapter. Then it just nosedived. For all the amount of the narrative that the gem took up, when the time came, the gem was superfluous. It was useless. It wasn't even mentioned. And I don't know whether that was just me skimming the last like 50 pages of it just because I just wasn't liking it anymore. I don't know. I just felt like I was missing something. I wasn't enjoying it. The characters didn't do anything for me. The writing didn't do anything for me. If anything, the writing was pissing me off as each page went on and on and on. It just didn't do anything for me. I know people have been raving about this book and they are so excited to read this book, but for me, I did not like it at all. And the last book that I have to share with you guys is probably one that you're probably all going to kill me for, but remember, my opinion, in my favorites video, you can like tear apart every favorite book that I have in there, but this is just what's going to happen. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix by J.K. Rowling. I didn't like it. Order of the Phoenix is one of the movies that I do love in the Harry Potter series, but the book, oh my god, I actually wanted to just throw it because Harry is such a bitch in it. Oh my god, he is such a whiny, sniveling, annoying little character. I don't know how people can like him. I absolutely despise Harry. He was so whiny in the Order of the Phoenix that I couldn't even cope with it. I think this took me a better part of a month to get through because I just could not stomach Harry. And at the end of this book, I had to take a break from Harry Potter, and I haven't looked back. I could not bring myself to pick up Half-Blood Prince, Even though I have only the last 2 books in the series to go, and then I can say I have finished Harry Potter, this book just didn't inspire me to continue on with the series. I loved every other character but Harry. I hate Harry. I felt so sorry for Cho in this book, and I did not like it at all. So there you have it, guys. Those are all of my disappointments and least liked books of 2017. If these are ones that you love, I am so happy for you. I'm so happy that you enjoyed them. I just didn't, and that's fine. Let me know in the comments down below what some of your disappointing reads were, what your opinions of these books that I have featured are, whether you loved them, you didn't like them, you thought they were disappointing. Let me know. Subscribe if you would like to see more videos from me. The next one coming is, I think, my favorites video, so make sure to stick around for that. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!